to... Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article each week and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Dan, we're talking about Girl on Approval.
Girl on Approval.
Yep, Girl on Approval is a 1961 British drama film directed by Charles Friend and starring Rachel Roberts, James Maxwell and Annette Whiteley. Except we're not going to talk about that mostly because there's basically nothing in this article. It's a tiny stub, and so much has happened since our last episode. The fact that we say in the intro, it takes us to a random article each week is definitely not terribly true at the moment.
We've been on, has it been a 3-week hiatus?
I think it's a 3-week hiatus, for good reason. It's not just because we've been lazy.
For good reason. We each have our own excuses. However, I feel like your excuses are considerably more interesting.
Well, hang on, what's your excuse?
End of term. So Christmas at work, which means I'm usually working longer hours on more days. Concerts for everything. Namely, more stressful are the ones where I'm the conductor and you've actually kind of put a fair degree of thought and you suddenly realise I did a Michael Graham the other day, and before the Singers concert realised that there was one piece that was on the lineup that we had. The last time we rehearsed it was in September.
That's a classic move right there.
And I was like, okay, guess what we're doing first, everyone. The Singers concert went really, really well, actually. We should hopefully have, there were some really good photos taken. One of the people who came, which, speaking of people who came, woof, we had about, I think, just over 100 people.
Oh, wow.
In our concert. Yeah, and we were in the Sacred Heart Church on South Street next to the George's Meeting House. For everyone who knows, just because by this stage, if you're listening this long, I presume that you've got a kind of a mental map of Exeter ever saved, ever pasted into the album of your memory.
Which is, of course, a medieval town, according to the people that write our fan fictions. I mean, it is a medieval town, but like, just to be clear, guys, there are modern things in the middle of town, like, electricity.
We've got a
Lewis.
loom. We've got a well.
Well, we had the well burned down.
This is true.
So of the 100 people at Dan's concert, I was not one of them because I was in New York last week.
You were
which
indeed.
was very, very exciting. And the week before that, we didn't hand in because I handed in my PhD thesis. And
hooray!
So that finally happened, guys. It still feels it feels like I say that and it's like I'm acting, like I haven't actually done it. But I have to remind myself, look at the picture, Simon. You did it. You actually did hand it in. And then, of course, the hangover the following day meant that we were not going to record because, well, for one thing, I would have sounded like a basso profundo. My voice was so ridiculously low the following day, and I had no energy. So it was all I could do to crawl out of bed and get on a train to Cambridge to see Pixel Girl. So that's basically why we haven't done one for a while. For those of you who are concerned. And you don't follow us on social media, which of course you should. I'm at Simon Oxfizz on Twitter, and Dan is
at Daniel J. Moore, I believe.
So if you weren't aware, that's why we haven't been talking.
That's a thing. That is a thing. Simon, can people find you on Instagram?
They can find me on Instagram. It's the same. It's Simon Oxfizz. That's OXFPHYS.
Okay, that's really interesting because people can actually find me on Instagram as well.
Hang on 1 second. We have a guest to the podcast. Hang on, come on in.
It's Dan Moore, if you're interested.
I'm recording a podcast. Do you want to be part of it? No, I want to print something else. Oh, sorry, we have a guest on the podcast.
Who is it?
It's our printer, because my housemate wants to print something, so we've had to deal with this in the past. Do you want to come and say hello? No, he's saying no. He's sat on the bed. He's bent the bed. It's literally crumbling under his weight.
Oh, gosh. Don't hold back, Simon.
I'm very grateful to him because he's let me sleep in his sofa for the past... How long have I been here? Too long.
Too long. Yeah, exactly.
I think he meant to say 2 months, but it came out as too long. What are you printing? He's saying he's printing... I'm not going to repeat what he just said. He's printing out some music that we're going to be that you're going to be singing later, Dan.
I've heard about this music.
Yeah, this is a sterling return to form for the podcast. We've been away for a few weeks, and we already have a guest.
Amazing! The first guest ever on the podcast, with the exception of Ed Dunn.
Yeah, it doesn't really count. I mean, it's like barely human, really. I've seen his room.
I too have also seen his room, and it I usually have to have a lie down for about 10 minutes after seeing it.
Update on the printing. It's not happened yet. We're going to keep you updated as with what's happening. I'll fill you in on the room. My room looks like a mess, to be fair, because I'm about to move out in a couple of days. The house smells amazing. I'm going to go through all the senses. The house smells amazing because one of my housemates is cooking quesadilla.
Nice.
Hang on, sorry, we were just... breaking news. I don't think we have enough paper.
Oh, gosh.
11 pieces, did you say? Yeah, we have enough paper.
I mean, this is setting a new low.
Really?
For riveting events that are happening on this podcast.
This was the podcast that everyone was going to tune in. It's like Simon handed in his thesis. They're going to talk about that. They're going to talk about New York. They're going to talk about Christmas. Instead, we have, breakneck printing
woes.
Okay, I can confirm that the first sheet is on its way out.
Gosh.
It's a win. It's black and white. It appears to be working.
Hooray.
Your enthusiasm is noted.
Yeah.
Oh, hang on. This doesn't sound good. I'm hearing like a whirling of a drum. Imagine a carbide death spin, if you like.
Nice. We have to talk about that later.
Oh, yes, we do. Right, there's a blank piece of paper. There's an intruder in the printing. Load paper and select. Okay, there was enough paper in the tray, for sure. See, look, there's more. And more is also
I'm quite glad that I've got a cup of tea here. I'm just going to take a moment and just take 5 minutes to relax while you kind of bollock about with printing.
I'm personally enjoying this live sports commentating. As I say, so we only made our way partly through the senses. I mean, everything sounds good here. It smells amazing. I'm looking at a printer which is HP recommends Color Lock papers for best printing results. It says it's out of paper, despite the fact that we're not out of paper. Okay. Oh, hang on. There's some deliberation happening with the team here. Hold on. We're wafting air at the printer in the hope that this will do something. We're back in action. The printer is back in action.
I really hope that you can find some really excellent kind of elevator music to
I will
to put under this just kind of monstrously dull section of the podcast. Listeners, I do apologise.
I mean, you think this is
we do have quite a lot of interesting
having
things to say. However, we just have to get through this first stage of
I'm having the time
music.
of my life here today. I mean, we're going to both see the new Star Wars film today, and that's not even going to be the best thing I watch today. This is truly riveting printing. I think there's only about 2 pages left. 4 pages left, apparently. My colleague here is telling me.
Has your colleague seen Star Wars yet? He didn't go to the midnight one, did he?
No, because he knew he was going to fall asleep if he went to see it at midnight. I can see a title. We have finished printing.
Gosh. What a rush.
Gosh.
What a time to be alive.
One of the best prints I think I've ever seen. Certainly one of the most enjoyable. The quality looks good. It's good! It's away! Hasn't just impacted on the surface. He's flipping me the bird. He's walking out of the room. That's it. This concludes the printing corner of the podcast.
Yeah, which thankfully will not become a regular feature.
I don't know if there's demand for it. If you'd like to email us at spongyelectric@gmail.com with a request for printing corner. I mean, Hello Internet has Shredder corner sometimes. What was that? What? Apparently I have a Secret Santa.
How nice.
I wasn't part of the Secret Santa. Do you want me to open it?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
Right,
let's have an opening.
So he's lovingly thrown it quite some distance from me. There we go. So I'm confused by this because there was a chapel meal last night which I didn't go to because I was just so insanely busy, which we'll also get to. There's a lot of signposting going on here, and we do need to wrap up recording in about an hour and a half. I didn't go to the meal last night. And so I said, don't include me in the Secret Santa. So I'm very surprised to find this. So I'm holding it in my hands. Can you?
Right.
Yeah, it's nicely wrapped. Clear sellotape, standard industry standard. It looks like a 1950s housewife's dress. It's like a kind of turquoisey blue with white polka dots, with to Simon Love Santa XXX in pencil.
Wow, triple X Santa.
Triple X Santa. It's like that dream
heavens.
I had. Right, so hang on. Here we go, listeners. This is but a pre-Christmas unwrapping, high-quality unwrapping audio coming your way. Listen to this. Oh, right, hang on. Let's try this. Here we go. Oh! Oh! Here we go. Oh my goodness! Oh, I must have been a good boy this year. Hang on, let me get rid of the wrapping. I'm sure everyone at home is dying to know what I have. So I have been given a Star Wars carry pack, which includes an awesome height chart.
Wow.
Includes a cutout and wear stormtrooper mask.
Mm-hmm.
Good grief! I mean, how high does this height chart? Oh, there's stickers. Oh my goodness, there's stickers! Guide Luke's X-Wing through the maze in order to help him destroy the Death Star. I know that this cost £2.50 because they left the the price tag on it.
No expense spared. Well, except for the £2.50, which was under the £5 gift minimum.
Well, you say that, but in addition to this, because believe it, that's not all. Wait, there's more, because I've also been given a 7+ years adding and subtracting a help with homework book.
Nice.
A test pad with yet more stickers. It has reward stickers.
God, lucky boy.
I have. And they say yes, cool, fab, wow, okay. Pixel Guy's gonna be so proud of me.
One?
There isn't a lol. I don't think. No.
Sad.
Also, not many stickers. I mean, considering this is quite a lot of stuff here. I mean, the first few exercises do seem to be a little trivial for my level. The first exercise is in fact literally 1 + 1, followed by 2 + 1, then 3 + 1. It goes all the way to 12 + 1, and then should we do that thing where you go to the back of the book and you see how it ends? Answers given at the back. In case this was a bit too difficult for me. Right. Let me just get to the back page of questions. All right. So the most difficult thing then, the last thing in this book is 8 + 1.
Wow.
And next to it, trick question, 0 + 0. So I mean, I feel like I've earned a sticker actually, because I mean I know the answers.
I
think
so.
But oh wow, thank you, Santa. Sorry, this is really welcome to Star Wars Corner.
Welcome.
Well, actually, we may as well stay on the Star Wars theme.
Let's do it.
There's a few things to talk about with Star Wars actually this week, believe it or not. Because so we've already mentioned that we're going to go see the new film. Let me just carefully put my
indeed
80/80 thing over down here. There we go. So we're going to see the new film, but in addition, I've been working on a video for the past couple of months, and the past few weeks very intensely, which is currently, as of recording this, is currently uploading to YouTube. So, barring some disaster, it will be available.
Hooray.
It will be out, and that's about the planets in Star Wars, and that has been killing me because, as we mentioned, right? So I handed in my PhD 2 weeks ago. I then spent all of last week in New York, which was on YouTube stuff. So that wasn't a holiday; that was work, and that was not as intense, anywhere near as intense as doing a PhD, but like still kind of tough. And then I came back here, and over the past couple of days, I haven't slept for more than 3 hours at a time because I've been desperately trying to get this video finished to come out. I wanted it to come out yesterday, which was the day before the film came out, to kind of maximize the hype. But I'm going to be releasing it today on the release date instead. But yeah, this has been absolutely killing me. Yeah, not sleeping enough, haven't really been eating. All the habits which I kept going through the last stages of my PhD just kind of gone out the window, really.
Fair.
So that's basically, I'm a little bit Star Wars'd out. I would say I literally do have a bunch of prequel memes on my screen right now, and we were excitedly talking about going to see the new film. So there's plenty of Star Wars. This podcast is going to be like a dodecahedron. There's going to be so many corners in it. But what are your thoughts on the new film? What do you think it's going to be like?
Well, I mean, I fortunately I rewatched episode 7 last night, so I've caught up. I'm up to date. I'm refreshed. I'm really interested to see there's two in general sense things I'm looking forward to. One, I want to see how different the structure of this film is going to be compared to previous films, in that there is a Star Wars formula for writing the screenplays. I wouldn't be surprised if episode 8 is different, and goes in a very different direction, which is I think why it's been kind of called controversial in film reviews.
Because one of the main criticisms of episode 7 was that it was basically a New Hope 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Exactly.
So you think this one's going to be different?
I think it is, yeah.
I mean, the middle chapter is normally the darkest. And the trailer, admittedly, I was only forced to watch the trailer once. I tried to avoid seeing it, but when I went to see Thor Ragnarok, it was playing, so I had to watch it once. And certainly from that, it does seem to be taking something of a darker tone than episode 7. And
there's gradually more kind of things being, certainly in those. I've watched the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
And there's kind of allusions to Rey potentially turning, or there's this whole thing with the Grey Jedi and what that's going to entail. Either way, I've deliberately been kind of not kind of delving in much at all, really. I watched the teaser trailer. I did admittedly watch. They released another trailer about maybe a week ago, and I did watch that one. Didn't give much away at all. So I'm in the dark. I'm in the dark side in kind of my expectations. But I'm really excited. The other thing that I'm really excited about, which I imagine you are as well, is how they're doing the music this time.
So you're referencing the Sideways video that we watched about how John Williams, for the first time ever on a Star Wars film, is recording the score first, and then the film is being edited to the score. Which is normally how I edit. So I can't imagine actually being a composer or a musician and trying to do the music to an edit that's been locked off, because partly when you edit, you do it with a rhythm in mind, you do it with music, and I think it makes something much better if you do edit with the music already finalized. So yeah, very, very, very much looking forward to that. Also very interested to see how they handle the very genuinely sad death of Carrie Fisher.
Yes, yeah, very true.
I mean, she's one of those people that I think even though she hasn't really appeared in very much since. I mean, she was in Austin Powers, which no one seems to remember, and she was in The Blues Brothers. I can't really recall any other films that she's been in since Star Wars. But
no, nor can I.
But she's definitely left an indelible print on sort of anyone that's seen Star Wars, particularly Return of the Jedi for obvious reasons. Left a very real impact on your life. Genuine, like it's like an icon. It's like when Mark Hamill dies. That's going to be really sad. Same for Han Solo. Literally, I'm nearly referring to them by their names. I know they're real people. I know they're actually actors. But like when the actors that play such iconic roles pass away, it's sad.
They're forever kind of immortalized in your memory as the characters they play, because those characters, being fictitious, are kind of granted some degree of immortality.
Absolutely,
so it's like with that point is touched on in towards the end of Romeo and Juliet. This is what I'm going to get. This is in English student corner. Here we go. The reason why they're made statues at the very end of the play is because they're granted immortality through art, which was a concept that was quite common at the time and fits into the art critique idea of Concordia discourse. If you'd like to know more, I shall send you my extended essay that I did in the IB, which is entirely about Concordia discourse and its relations to Romeo and Juliet. But yeah, I think it's just going to be a very exciting night. Going out for dinner beforehand, which will be nice, and then Star Wars. Well, my parents are coming tomorrow, and I'm leaving Exeter to be at home for 2 days, and then I go on holiday, which is very exciting.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about the holiday in a second, because I'm leaving Exeter on Saturday for good. That's it for me. I then go back to Bristol. Though, interestingly, possibly I shouldn't be saying this, but a mutual friend of ours, whose name rhymes with Mayan, who lives in a country whose name rhymes with Schmeireland, basically sent me a link to a mansion that he was thinking of renting and was like, "Do you want to move in?" like just make videos, and I was like, yeah. So I might not be in Bristol for very long. So I might be moving to Shmireland.
Nice,
but
change of scene.
Yeah,
could join Dr. Jones.
Different Shmireland, because there's North Shmireland and then there's South Shmireland.
I see.
Yeah, it's Korea, guys. Dr. Jones is moving to Pyongyang. Yeah, it's going to be exciting because we're doing a recording session. As soon as we finish recording the podcast, we're both racing over to the chapel, recording some music. You're then going for dinner. I'm going to come back and probably sleep and send the files. And then we're going to go see a Star War. And then
we're going to go and see one of them Star War.
No, it doesn't work. Like, if that definitely is a plural, but like it is, the film is singular. But like we're going to see one of them Star Wars. Oh, which one?
Yeah.
Star War 8.
Yeah.
This podcast is about Wikipedia, isn't it? I may as well.
Wait, hang on. Remind me again what we started with. It was a
Girl
film?
on Approval. It's a film, a drama film from 1961. The only the plot is, in one sentence, a middle-class married couple who have two young sons foster a troubled 14-year-old girl from a children's home to replace their daughter who died.
Wow.
And that's
bit of light watching there.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a very Greek thing. It's just like, oh, we lost a child, so let's just get another one. Like, I have hammer and anvil to beat out another child, except they didn't, so they just bought one. And the only interesting thing about this is that, because that is the whole article, along with a cast list, a guy called James Maxwell plays a character, seemingly one of the main characters, called John Howland. But James Maxwell is my favourite physicist, except that's James Clerk Maxwell. He was a wonderful man who gets completely ignored in history for all the wrong reasons. Because, well, basically Einstein gets really famous, and a few other scientists are famous despite the fact that they're massive twats and really disrespected women. Whereas James Clerk Maxwell was known to be a really, really nice guy who played the guitar and wrote poetry and liked dogs, and died at the age of 48, having basically had as massive an impact on physics as Isaac Newton.
What a lad.
Yeah, massive lad. I'd like to do a video
Top
about
lad. Can confirm the Wikicast deem him
Wikicast approved.
The honorary title of top lad.
It's like a peerage. It's like instead of being like Sir, what's a regular listener that we can. Daniel Hanvey. Instead of Sir Daniel Hanvey, it's Top Lad Daniel Hanvey. I mean,
Daniel would be made a lord.
Well, is there a level above Top Lad?
I think there must be, because I feel like the kind of the top laddedness.
That's I feel like that's a knight.
Mr. Hanvey is pretty damn high.
Yeah, there's knights and then there's lords. There's a feudal system in this podcast. Not just the feud between us, but the. It's
actually I don't know. I was just thinking. I think the last time we did an episode, we were talking that we were planning on meeting Daniel. Actually, finally, we briefly said hello to him in Bath. Oh well, I did. And then he came down. I don't think we actually discussed.
Yeah, so for those of you who are not in the know, and if you're not related to him, Dan is a long-time listener of the Wikicast who actually happens to be a brother of a friend of ours, Imogen. And he came down from heaven, who is God and Lord of all. And so we're very much in Christmas mode at the moment. There's so much to talk about. That was last night. We did the Christmas service. Which you can watch on Facebook.
You can indeed.
So Daniel came down for the Come and Sing event, where we did basically a concert, and we finally got to hang out. And he's a top lad. But can you possibly there's a few things to email in about this podcast, and we do honestly love getting your emails. So if just in the middle of the podcast something particularly sparks you and you want to send us an email, do to spongyelectric@gmail.com. Send us an email suggesting what the level above top lad could be, because I think we're in need of that. There's a lexical gap in the podcast.
There should be something like, I don't know, Ladmeister General or
Ladmeister General.
Like, I feel like some kind of military ranking would like kind of serve us well.
Instead of Grand Marshal, it's like Lad Marshal.
Yeah.
Ladmaster General, though, that's pretty strong.
Yeah.
Hang on, I'm just gonna Google military ranks. Top lad first class, maybe.
Because one of the highest is Field Marshal, isn't it?
Field Marshal, as I understand it, is the highest.
Because that's what all the kind of royal families are made of their respective.
Yeah, but that's for the military. I
say this because listeners, I'm with you in that I have been catching up on series 2 of The Crown on Netflix, which, oh my good lord.
Pixel Girl has been telling me that it's very good. She's been enjoying it. So yeah, Field Marshal is the highest rank in the army, whereas if it's the Navy, for example, it's Admiral of the Fleet. I know that one.
Yes, that's right.
I think it's Marshal of the Royal Air Force if you're RAF.
So, like Prince Philip, I know is admirable. Is Admiral of the Fleet.
Okay, so this was a completely unnecessary. Oh my god, this podcast. Is there anything else to talk about before we jump back to the Christmas service?
I don't think so. I mean, we're trying to provide a degree of structure to our kind of tangential ramblings. I feel like just let it go free.
The train of thought of this podcast looks like a time travel movie, but not like Back to the Future. I mean something like Primer or something.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a mess.
It's like the time travel that's in Harry Potter and the Cursed Child.
Ooh. Yeah. Ooh. Or just the Cursed Child, really. Yeah. Although I do definitely want to go see the play still. I know that.
For sure.
Because I just want to see the spectacle of like how.
Yeah.
How
apparently, it's meant to be one of the most amazing things you can see on the stage.
So very keen for that. Anyway, yeah. So last night we did the Christmas service, didn't we? And you did very well. I wasn't singing for the first time in 4 years.
No, you were manning the camera for the live stream.
I was, which was very frustrating because the iPhone which we used because we don't have proper equipment yet. The iPhone is not designed for low level light. Continuous video.
I did have a look and kind of saw that its kind of snap focusing was having a little bit of trouble.
I mean, I figured out how the focusing worked eventually. Basically, it thought that the candles were point sources of light, so it was trying to focus on them and making them as small as possible, but.
Yeah,
it wasn't going to work. So the only way in the latter part of the live stream, because you can watch, dear readers, you can watch this on the Chapel Facebook page. The whole service was live streamed and then saved. Basically, for the second half of the service, I realised that if you point the camera at the choir, including the top of the organ, specifically the top of the organ in the shot, because there's a light behind the organ, it was a sharp edge that it could identify, and so that allowed it to go into focus. But yeah, the music sounded great, including the fastest rendition of Tomorrow Shall Be My Dancing Day you will ever hear in your life.
Absolutely insane. There was quite a funny comment on the video as well, where someone because we had some percussion elements. We had a drum and some bells, or like a tambourine, which we haven't done we've got it's on the recording of the CD, but normally when we do it, we just omit those and just have the piano or the organ.
Yeah.
And somebody commented saying he's not quite sure how much it added to the performance, and the temptation just to kind of snappily reply back being like, it's in the score, you mug. It's written in there by Gardner, so don't
and it also has come through fine on the recording. Well, actually, tell you what, to let people know what we're talking about, shall I include a quick little clip of the CD recording, which we now have?
Yes.
Because we launched a CD. And we had the copyright to this, so I can let this one play for a little bit. This is Tomorrow Shall Be My Dancing Day by, is it John Gardner?
Yes.
A. Gardner. Wasn't that great?
Just lovely, just absolutely divine, and that is about half as slow as how we did it last night. They took the choir quite by surprise. I think.
Half as fast. If it was half as slow, it would be twice the speed. So yeah, that was half the speed that it was in the concert. The service. It was like that kind of. Yeah, it was nuts.
Very fun to sing though, and I think Michael had a good time.
Yeah, he looked like he was conducting it.
It's so fast. It was more of a dance than and tomorrow was his dancing day. So
Yeah. So yeah, and that was a lot of fun. And then, good grief. There's a few.
You went
things
home,
to
didn't you? And
talk about.
I went to the current kind of choral scholars. We all went out to dinner. It was a black tie dinner, which was very nice. We went to Café Rouge in town and had a lovely meal. And then I think everyone went to Dr. Jones's flat to have some kind of an afterglow session of bevs. I came home and watched Star Wars.
I mean, I was meant to go to the dinner.
Being the socialite that I am.
I was meant to go to the dinner, but I came home and started editing, and I didn't stop editing until 3:30 a.m. So this video, like when I say it nearly killed me, I really mean it. Yeah, this one's been tough, but yeah, if you would like to see the service, definitely go check it out on the Chapel Facebook. I tell you what, I'll do that right now. Actually, I am going to share it on the Spongy and Electric Facebook.
Oh, good idea.
Sorry, the Wikicast Facebook. Even we don't have a Spongy and Electric Facebook yet because we're going to take over the world eventually, but not quite yet. Although my week in New York has definitely helped towards that. It's got to be said.
Super. It was. I was looking recently. Too. It wasn't. You were in America while PodCon was on.
I was, yes, but not at PodCon. Exactly. That's a goal for this podcast. I want to get invited to PodCon. That would be really cool.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be cool. And then we were tweeted at someone who was at PodCon saying, "Are there any fans of the Wikicast there?" Which was really cool.
Was it Angela? I think
so.
So she actually wrote us on the little board of like, who are you listening to? And then right in the middle was just like the Wikicast in tiny letters, which was wonderful.
Top lad.
Yeah, so I went to New York. We actually haven't talked about this. I should point out that Dan and I have barely seen each other. We saw each other yesterday, and that's been it over the past like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I went to New York because YouTube flew us out there to do a global creator camp, which was like YouTube Next Up, but for channels from all over the world. And there were channels, about 30 channels from about 12 different countries, and it was amazing. We had these sessions. About probably half the time that we were there was structured events. And it was stuff like meeting with people to talk about social media, how they do their social media campaigns, talking about working with brands, getting to ask questions about production values, things like that. Really, really useful stuff. But then a lot of the time, there was some fun stuff which happened. We went to a barcade, which is an arcade, as in like proper retro 80s and 70s machines with a bar, which was great. And I met Tom Hanks. That happened. I still can't quite believe that happened.
That's a thing that you did?
Yeah. And what was funny was that they told us they split us into groups for the week. This is like your mentor group, and the idea was, you could ask questions, and it was sort of just to make people a bit closer. And they said, right, we're going to go and do photos upstairs of your mentor group, so come up one group at a time. And then as we rounded the corner, I was in the first group. As we rounded the corner into the studio, Tom Hanks was there and was like, "Hey," and I just like, my brain just kind of crashed. I was like, the only thing I could think was, holy fuck, that's Tom Hanks.
You should have said that.
Well, that was the first thing I basically said to John Green when I met him at VidCon. I turned around and I was like, "You're John Green," and he looked at me and was like, "Yeah." So I got to like shake, because the weird thing was I was watching a documentary about Spielberg on the flight over to America, and Tom Hanks was in it. And the last time I flew to America, I watched Bridge of Spies. So I was like, "Oh, I was watching you on the plane," and he was like, "Oh, which thing?" And then I told him it was about the documentary, and he was like, "Yeah, when you make those documentaries, they tell you it's just best not to tell the truth." Which is quite funny. But the other thing was Bob Odenkirk, who plays Saul in Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, was also there. I just totally blanked him because I was so like, I had tunnel vision on the fact that holy fucking shit, that's Tom Hanks right in front of me. So that was cool. And then I also got to do some touristy stuff. There was basically one day where we walked around New York. One of the channels who was on the camp was a travel channel called the Vega Brothers, two really, really cool guys from California. And so they knew, well, one of them actually had flown home. The other one took us around making a video about New York. And so we had some good places to go to. We went to a bagel restaurant first thing. And then we went to a ramen bar. Tiny little Japanese.
I love ramen. My God.
It was really good. Although, interestingly,
So
I thought
delicious.
the pho, or I think it's meant to be pronounced pho, the Vietnamese
Oh, the
version.
Vietnamase.
Yeah, which Pixel Guy and I had in Cambridge the other weekend. I thought that was better. Just saying. But yeah, so we went to this ramen place.
I would actually say, I think of my experiences of, because obviously living in Australia, there's quite a lot of kind of Asian cuisine, and equally Indonesian cuisine in the Netherlands is really popular.
Oh, of course, because it was a colony.
I did some volunteer work in Vietnam, and I thought one of the other than kind of obviously the entire experience was incredible, but the food was, wherever you were, whether you were in a city or a town, or when I was building houses in the jungle in literally the middle of nowhere, the food that the villagers would make us, which it was just like, it was superb. I think Vietnamese food is massively underappreciated for its just kind of like its way that it kind of approaches flavor, and kind of it's very resourceful too, I think. Yeah.
I mean, what was amazing was that
there.
we had we had channels from all over the world, like I said, and there were channels from the Philippines and from Thailand, and I think one from Indonesia, and from India and other places like Egypt and Mexico, and several from Brazil. And we were in New York for the first snow of the year.
Oh wow!
And which was obviously like amazing. It's like Home Alone style. This is what New York's supposed to be like, especially at Christmas. And it was the first time that any of these guys had seen snow. So they were like doing all the things they'd seen in the movies. They were like throwing snowballs at each other. They were running up to trees and just like kicking them and making all the snow fall down. It was really, really cool.
Nice.
Yeah, really, really lovely to like see them experiencing it for the first time. And also, like, it was genuinely quite magical for about 20 minutes, and then you realise that it's just cold and wet. And I was going, a really cool guy, Gabriel Say, who has a fitness channel. He was going around this Antarctic Coke, and he was from London. Just like, yeah, this is cool. And then at one point, there was just a moment he was walking down the street and was like, no, that's it, it's gone. Like, the novelty's worn off.
See, my only encounters with snow is I was at work the other day and it started snowing in Exeter, which was quite exciting. And then I've been getting messages from the family because Fiver, my dog, this is his first time where he's actually experienced snow, and it's been snowing a heck of a lot in Oxfordshire. Yeah, they've had just under a foot, I think, which is quite impressive. But obviously Fiver's never seen it before, so he's not quite sure how to feel about it. So he's decided the emotion that he's opted for is just absolute manic excitement, going mental. So I'll be seeing him at the weekend, which is going to be very fun. I'll if I can get an opportunity to video or take some photos of him when he is going mad, we'll put it up on the Wikicast page.
Yeah, please do.
To strengthen the fight of dogs versus cats, this will be in a very, very cute video.
Yeah, I've been more active than you, post sharing stuff on the page, which does mean there's more of a cat bent to it. I've
got to work up. The other thing I have forgot to mention is while I can't top meeting Tom Hanks, I can talk about a more local British celebrity that I had the pleasure of meeting, which was, of course, the famed and kind of infamous on this podcast, Mark Kermode.
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about this. Tell me all about it.
No. Yeah, so as we've mentioned in podcasts before, both Simon and I are massive fans of Mark and his criticism and his just kind of approach to film and the things that he does to kind of promote the industry and interest and share his passion. And we were fortunate enough in Exeter for him to come down, and he gave a lecture to film studies master's students, and then an open lecture in the afternoon, which actually the venue had to move. They had to move it to the alumni theatre because so many people wanted to go. And I went, and it was amazing. And he gave an in conversation with, which was really cool. I actually managed to ask him a question, which I actually recorded some audio on my phone. So I might kind of cut that down and put it somewhere as our conversation that we had. But he was a really nice guy, super interesting. Very funny, very, very kind of humble. I asked him a question about where he thought kind of soundtracks and scores stood in writing up a piece of criticism, and how much, because often a film can sink or swim on its score. And we had a really interesting conversation about, because obviously Mark is a musician himself, and I said that I was, and he actually he recognised me from the message that I sent in about
of course.
Murder on the Polar Express, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I remember your email." which was really cool. And we had kind of a nice chat. And
well, we've exhausted the article. We've had Star Wars Corner, we've had Printing Corner, we've had Guest Corner. Perhaps it's time to move on to. Oh, we've got the jingles. Oh my goodness, it's been so long since we've done this. I forgot we had the jingles. We need to put a jingle in now, and then we're going to go to what we've been watching, film, YouTube, and TV corner, which still needs a name, I think.
I think we have an email in. Last time
we'll get to that in correspondence corner. So let's not jump corners. So that'll be for future effect. So let's have a jingle. And we're back.
We're back.
So what have you been watching then? You said you've been watching The Crown.
Yes, I have. That was very, very good. Obviously rewatched episode 7 last night, which was also very good. Other than that, I haven't really been watching anything. I've been, we've been so busy with either work or uni or chapel choir or GNS or singers or it's been pretty full on. I have, however, been making sure that I find time to tune into the Jingle Jam.
Yes, I was going to bring that up. Absolutely.
Yeah. Which has been super. For those that we have mentioned it before, but if you're unfamiliar, the company that the media sensation that is the Yogscast on YouTube, and kind of branching out into kind of Twitch now as well, live streaming. They do every year. They do a charity live stream throughout most of December, where the amount of preparation and kind of organisation that goes into it is incredible. But they basically live stream pretty much all day. Up until about 11:30 in the evening, doing different things, playing different games, all in the name of charity. People kind of can donate in or send messages, and all of the money raised by the end of December, and ticking into January, because they have other sales for like merchandise as well that they subsidise and give to charity. There's a kind of a count up in kind of early middle of Jan, and that money goes to a series of different charities, which are all superb. I can't remember what the running total is at the moment. But
I
think
checked in earlier.
Is it 4 million and something?
4.2 million, I think, dollars.
4.2. God, it's just incredible, isn't it?
It's astonishing. And I mean, when you look at the bundle, we'll include a link in the show notes to the bundle. It's great value for money. Like it just, even if you just, regardless of the charity stuff, if you're a gamer, you absolutely should buy it, and it's going to so many great causes that it basically it's a win-win. Everybody should get this bundle. It's $35. Absolutely worth it. So because I was watching was it 2 nights ago? They played poker, where everyone was getting successively more and more drunk. But they have the best thing is they have 2 people commentating over. I think it's about 6 people playing poker, and then 2 people commentating. One of whom is Piran Flax, who's a very experienced poker player and does commentating. So he's really good. And then next to him you have Tom, who knows nothing about poker and is just just basically trying to make this stuff up and kind of keep up with Piran. And it just works. It was just really fun.
It's a super thing to watch.
And then there's the classic Open Transport Tycoon Deluxe.
And then the Civ night as well.
Yeah.
The gin stream, where everyone just
all of these
gets
are
more drunk on gin.
All of these are available on their YouTube channel, the Yogs Live channel. And I've been saving up the Hat Films make an album in an evening one, because it's something to do with Elon Musk saving the world in like an 80s
so they've done like
synthwave.
I also haven't watched it all, but I saw the title, and they've done a kind of a Gladiator-esque soundscape.
Oh my god.
Which should be great. I think actually Mark Turpin, who is the CFO.
CEO, I think.
Is he CEO? I thought he was CFO.
No, CEO.
Okay. He tweeted Elon Musk saying that this is what they're doing. They're doing a charity live stream. They've raised so much so far. Would he like to kind of match a donation or send some stuff in? I'm not sure where that kind of stood, but fingers crossed he does.
Worth a shot. I mean, admittedly, the artwork is like Escape from New York style, 80s synth wave, like him holding a shotgun aloft. And there's something about defeating crocodiles, with their scaly armies or something like that. Yeah, it's really bizarre. But I've been watching that too. I've been catching up on it and watching it since getting back from New York, which it just makes my Christmas. It's so good.
No, been super.
And your review of The Crown so far, briefly?
Very good indeed. It's beautifully shot. I think the performances on screen are marvelous. the budget that they throw at this thing is just incredible. But it was just as satisfying as season 1 for me. In fact, I actually think I preferred season 2 more, because you get to the characters in far more depth, and they explore far more kind of personal issues, I think, in series 2 than in series 1. But yeah, highly recommend. It's been absolutely superb.
Oh, grand. I mean, I haven't been watching very much, but simply because, as you probably might have been able to guess, I am so busy. I thought that after handing in the PhD, life would get easier, and if anything, it's got more stressful.
Gosh.
Yeah, that's a thing. But on the plane, I watched that documentary about Spielberg, which was actually really good. Hang on, let me just see if I can find the name of it, in case anyone at home wants to watch it, because he's obviously a director that, you know, is so influential, is just so undoubtedly one of the greatest directors of all time, purely because of the impact he had on the industry. You know, some people say he ruined cinema. I don't think that's true at all.
No.
I think he's made some of the most moving films ever. It's literally just called Spielberg. There you go. And it's by Susan Lacey.
Okay.
So that was good.
Oh,
and then I also watched 2 films which couldn't have been more contrasting in their quality, which were, on the way back, I watched Beetlejuice, which is
super.
Tim Burton
I haven't seen that in ages. Great film, though.
Really great. I hadn't seen it before, and I just loved it. I loved it so much. Like, Alec Baldwin is, I don't know, there's something about his voice that tickles me in places that I shouldn't be tickled. Like, the performances are great, and Michael Keaton is just amazing as this disgusting demon. And the music's by Danny Elfman, and it's directed by Tim Burton before he got annoying and too Tim Burton-y. It's just the right level of zany and funny and dark, like really dark. And I mean, the plot, for those of you who don't know, is a really adorable couple move into a house, do it up just how they like, and then they die. And then a new bunch of tenants come in, and the original couple want to try and get rid of them. So they have to hire a professional bioexorcist to get rid of the living humans. It's just really funny, really, really good. And then by comparison, on the same flight, I watched The Dark Tower.
I haven't seen this.
Which
this is Matthew McConaughey and Idris Elba?
Yeah, Idris Elba. And they, in their roles, are fine. I mean, people said that they couldn't see how Matthew McConaughey could be a villain or the devil. I actually think he carries it off with the material he's given. I think he's great.
The material he's given, those which are notoriously dark.
Yeah. It's just not good though. Like, I was analysing the first sort of half hour in terms of how the characters are introduced, and I was just like, this is all wrong. Like, I feel like with a stronger opening, maybe the middle section is okay. So, you know, it's passable, it's all right, and the end is just very anticlimactic. But like, if like the beginning was better, the whole film would be raised, because you care about the characters, and you just don't. Yeah, I feel like there's an interesting story, but maybe film isn't the right medium for it. I think maybe it is just better off as a book, and I do want to read the books.
Well, it'll be something that I'll watch on my flight over on holiday. It's quite a long haul.
Yeah, I can imagine you've got plenty of time. I mean, I'll warn you. It's not very good, I don't think. I mean, people can welcome to email in and say if they liked it. Maybe if you've read the books, there's much more meaning to it. But
yeah,
it's a shame because I really like Idris Elba. Like, there are actors in it that I really liked, but yeah, just didn't do anything for me, unfortunately. But that's basically all I've been watching. And then we'll be adding to that, of course, with Star Wars tonight. But I have barely been watching anything because it's just been crazy recently.
No, likewise. It's a busy time. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's also the busiest time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. It's the busiest time of the year. Well, I mean, if we haven't been watching very much... Actually, no, tell you what, another thing I have been watching before we move on is I've gotten addicted to these Warhammer 40,000 battle reports. There's this channel called Tabletop Tactics, for those of you who'd like to follow this up, who will film a whole game. And it's interesting how they do it in the simplicity of it. It's basically, they'll do like a bit to camera at the beginning, introducing the armies and saying, this is what I've got, this is what I'm expecting to do for each army. Although all the players are present at all times, there's nothing underhand about it. It's all very friendly. And then during the game, they will have one handycam which one player will hold, and then that's it. It's just following, but it flows so naturally. The way that they were like, okay, so that's 3 shots, and then like the camera goes down, rolls 3 dice. Okay, great, two to wound, and then you have a 5+ save, sir, and then like watching that, and it's all in kind of like one continuous shot with these intertitles to be like shooting phase, movement phase. And I've watched about 8, and they're about 2 hours each. So
nice.
Yeah,
good effort.
That's my addiction at the moment. But yes, so that's to fully round off the watching corner. I feel like maybe it's time to
critics corner.
Critics corner. Yes, was that recommended to us?
It was. I like it.
Well, let's properly jump on over. Take a hop, skip, and a jump over to correspondence corner.
No, I'm a huge fan of the idea for Critics Corner, and we shouldn't claim too much fame for it. It was suggested by Miles. We asked in the previous episode what we should be calling it, and he just emailed in simply with Critics Corner. Boom, done. You're welcome. Mic drop. So thank you, Miles. Aged 18 1/4. Very, very nice indeed. Nice. That shall be the new name for that segment. Critics Corner. I'll christen it. There we go. Thank you very much,
Thank you, Miles. Thank you. And following that, we have an email from George M, who has emailed possibly every week. Very great dedication, it's got to be said. And he writes, last week, I wrote you guys a poem containing all the titles of the Wikicast episodes so far. So this was exceptional. Really, really great stuff.
Oh, yeah. It was marvellous.
I'm glad you liked it, and when you make 17 more episodes, maybe I'll do another one. Hopefully the words will be easier to rhyme with compared to Lasificus and Crouchwitz. It occurred to me that all I do when I email you is what I want to call linguistic memeing. I don't know how to define this phrase, but it certainly wouldn't include puns, and anger you with Comic Sans. However, I'm actually 3 years into a physics degree and have plans to later do a PhD in theoretical astrophysics. Run while you can! So I think asking advice from Simon would be more helpful use of my emails. I know PhD would involve a hell of a lot of coding, so do you have any advice on how I could practice and improve my coding? So that's very interesting that finally, like, I was expecting this to have a trolley like twist in the tail, but he's actually like, oh, I've actually got a legit question. Thank you, George. How to improve your coding? It's like any practical skill. The comparison I like to make is that Jimi Hendrix didn't become the greatest guitar player of all time because he read books about guitar, or even because he listened to music. He became the greatest because he practiced and he played guitar until his fingers bled, because he loved doing it. And so the only way to get good at coding is the same as any skill. You've just got to use it. So in terms of practice, I'd recommend setting yourself a challenge. Set yourself some kind of problem to tackle that you haven't done before. And for me, I learned Python, for example, by saying, I'm going to code a simple model of the Earth's climate, like a simple GCM. How do I do that? And that was from the very basics of like, right, what is an array? How do I do a loop? And, from there, then you delve into all these little things that you lose yourself in for an hour, and then you learn how to do something properly, and you'll never forget it. So for me, I basically picked a project that I was going to find interesting, and ran with it for a couple of months, actually. But it depends on the type of coding you want to do. If it's MATLAB or something, you'll want to pick some kind of scientific project. It really depends on what you find interesting. But equally, if you're going to do something like Java, or something that's maybe more web-based, it's got to be something practical. It's, the most important thing is you pick something that you're going to find interesting and you're going to stick with. And I'd recommend doing one big project with lots of sort of little things in it than lots of small projects that are easy to complete. But I don't know, different strokes for different folks. And the other thing that George has included is an MP3 of every time we react to him signing off his emails in Comic Sans. So do you want to download this down and have a listen? So 3, 2, 1, play. play. Thank you for putting George in Comic Sans as well, you degenerate afterbirth of a human being. Making me so angry. I'm going to have some jelly beans. Yeah, George written in yellow on a white background in Comic Sans. You glorious.
Amazing.
That's you've become the Sips of this podcast. I love it. I'm going to ignore the fact that your signature is in a different colour to the. It's a neon blue in Comic Sans.
Hecking ruddy. Yeah, that's pretty good. I like that. That's funny.
You hecking ruddy George.
Yeah. You hecking ruddy George. That's going to be your new title, Hecking Ruddy George.
Yeah, please. All emails are now to be signed off, George, by Hecking Ruddy George. That's like your title, like Field Marshal George, but Hecking and Ruddy. Thank you very much for your email.
We have another email here from Neve, I believe it's pronounced. It says, "Hi, Simon and Dan. I had to consider the order I wrote that for several moments, but I ultimately decided Simon and Dan has a better ring to it than Dan and Simon." Well,
quite right.
Fine. I mean, you're not starting this email too well, Neve, but I'll stick with you. I thoroughly enjoy listening to the podcast.
Don't pretend that you know how to pronounce that. She literally puts in brackets, it's pronounced Neve, just in case you need help.
Yeah, that's why I think it's pronounced.
You were like, that's Neve, I think it's pronounced. because she told you that's how it's pronounced.
But I could be saying Neve wrong. You never know that spelling of Neve may be different.
Neve. Like
exactly.
That. Exactly. All right, you Wally, go on.
I thoroughly enjoy listening to your podcast and have been considering emailing for several weeks. However, I couldn't really think of much interesting to say. That is until Dan mentioned he attended St Leonard's College in Melbourne, a school which I also attended from 2008 to 2011. I presume you were in the Brighton campus. I attended the Cornish campus in Patterson Lakes. I did indeed attend the Brighton campus. When I was going into year 9 was the year that the Cornish campus closed. So I had my year level of year 9 was quite a large one because a lot of the Cornish campus folk had moved across. Going on, I attended the Cornish camp in Patterson Lakes. I was forced to change schools when that campus actually closed down, though you'll be pleased to know it reopened as Cornish College. Oh, fantastic. There were 2 campuses to the school I was at, and one was kind of set far out in kind of more rural Australia, I'd say. And it was a gorgeous, gorgeous campus with kind of real kind of focuses on kind of the great outdoors and just kind of more kind of almost like eco-friendly, and it was really, really interesting. But no, I was in the Brighton campus, so slap bang in the middle of basically just on the outskirts of the Melbourne kind of city, if you like. And my family and I moved out of the city, and I received a scholarship to a really fantastic private country school. Fantastic. What I really wanted to say is that I completely understand the emotional attachment to St Leonard's. I was distraught when I had to move away, as the culture, staff and students of the school were really incredible. I particularly missed the magnitude of house music, which was by far my favourite event of the year, in which the entirety of the Cornish campus participated as one house, and they represented like the individual houses within the school. And now this is going to test me. So I was in Cullen. There was also Forster, McMeekin, Newman. What was the other one? There was a yellow one. I can't remember. But yeah, there were 6 or 7 houses. I was always usually associated with at school a house that was blue, but moving to Cullen in Australia, I was a green house. I was Slytherin house.
Of course you
were. But each of the houses would compete on a night of music making, where you'd have an entire house ensemble. So that would be from kind of littlies. So year 6s right the way up to year 12 and one massive choir on stage, and then your director of music for the house, which was a student, usually a team of 2, house music captain, would put all the music together for that, and you'd rehearse over a period of kind of a month or so. There'd also be a small ensemble which was audition based, which usually comprised of people from year 10 to 12. Then there was also house instrumental, which was all just play, and it was all managed by students, and it was a really, really cool event. And she said she has fond memories of singing 21 Guns by Green Day in Hamer Hall.
Good song.
Despite my love of literature, particularly Harry Potter, my aptitude lies in mathematics, and I hope to study advanced mathematical studies at the University of Adelaide after I graduate year 12 at the end of next year. Keep doing what you're doing, as I thoroughly enjoy procrastinating by listening to the podcast. Regards, Neve, pronounced Neve, just in case you need any help. P.S. Dogs are the greatest thing on earth, and cats are hellspawn.
Oh, you had it up until
I did actually. I was actually a massive creep, Neve, and found you on Facebook, and we do actually have a mutual friend, which is quite interesting.
Don't tell her that. That is a bad example to set. Next up, we have an email from Hannah Muller, who we haven't heard from a little while. Very glad to hear from you, Hannah, who has been writing. She's already written 5 chapters of The Time Traveller with the Extraordinarily Big Forehead, I think is what TTTWTEBF stands for.
Rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, it really does. It's a good acronym. Basically, we have a fan fiction from you, but we're a little bit pressed for time this week because we do have to go and run and do this recording. So we will be doing your fan fiction, which is Dan's read, next week, next episode. But you do have some questions which you sent us, which we will do this time. She says, I forgot to put this in the original email, but there are 2 things which interest me a lot. 1, what's the weirdest thing about reading fan fiction with you 2 as characters? I'd find it extremely uncomfortable if someone did that with me. Parentheses, I only wrote this because you explicitly asked for it and it still feels like invading your privacy. What do you think? How do you... Yeah, what's the weirdest thing about it, Dan?
I think the weirdest thing is that we can, you can... Obviously, Simon does videos, and I often look at the podcast statistics as to kind of how many people download them and are listening, and that's kind of a more passive form of engagement. So just seeing a number is all well and good, and it's amazing to see how many people listen, and I'm still amazed of the sheer number of people that do, and it's going up all the time. But when you get people writing in, and it goes this kind of applies to emails as well, but especially fan fiction, people actually taking a lot of time out of their day to put these kind of stories forward and thinking them through and writing them and working on them, and it's a far more kind of active form of engaging, and it kind of reminds you that why it's so nice that people do this. I think that's the only reason why it's weird for me. I mean, other than the other things where it's kind of talking about me or Simon in a leather gimp suit, that's just weird because it's a leather gimp suit.
But I don't find that weird so much as I just find it funny.
I genuinely... I mean, I don't mind it at all. I think it's hilarious as well. But there are times where it kind of like, this is just bizarre. But it's more just it's more kind of the loveliness of people really taking the time out to do these things. That's the thing that I sometimes find strange, and an immense privilege too.
You're like, it's strange. People are so nice to us. Why we haven't deserved this. Yeah, I mean, I don't find it. I frankly encourage the weird stuff. I encourage the bizarre sexual stuff because I think it's funnier. Like in a way, when you live a public life on the internet like I do, and like Dan does as well in the vlogs, you inevitably have something of a performance. And this is also how I view something like public speaking, right? When I go on stage to speak, or if I'm in a video, it's not really me. It's an act that's very similar to me, because I do try and be genuine, and not be like KSI or a Jake Paul who might be very clever but acts like an idiot. But there's certain differences. It's someone who's a bit more confident, someone who maybe takes their time when they're talking a little bit more. And so when people write the fan fiction, it's about a character. It's almost like somebody's done a fan fiction of a character which I created rather than about me. So there's a certain distance. And yeah, so like I say, it doesn't weird me out when people do the really weird stuff. Like we react weirdly because it's our names, and there is definitely a certain amount of weirdness associated with that. But yeah, it's fine. I just find it funny. I think we're removed enough from our online personas, even though they're not very removed. Sure. We're just removed enough for it not to be life-changingly strange. And then the follow-up question: what does Pixel Girl think about the stories? Well, she's probably listening to this, so I've got to get this right. I think she just finds them funny, honestly. I don't think she feels threatened by a literary version of Dan seducing me. I mean, have you talked to her about this?
I don't think anyone would feel threatened by a literary version of me, let alone a normal version of me, to be fair.
The only way I feel threatened by you is if you were being flung out of a trebuchet, if you were used as ammunition for something.
I'm one hell of a projectile.
Very streamlined. The forehead is like a bullet train. But yeah, I just think she finds it funny. I don't think she minds it so much.
No.
Also, she does. Hannah finishes the email by saying, "I also wanted to express how sorry I am for any parents who are listening, but they asked for it." I mean, have you talked to your parents? What do your parents think about it? Because I know they listen, don't they?
They like it. I get a message from Mum every Friday saying, "Is there going to be an episode tomorrow?" And I say, I have recently of late been saying no because we're busy or you're away. And she gets quite upset about it. So I would imagine that when it goes, we'll be driving back home on Friday, and then Mum and Dad will probably listen to it on Saturday. So they quite like it. They think it's really funny.
Well, I mean, my parents do not listen to podcasts, so I don't have to worry about that. But I'm sure that Mum and Dad would probably find it funny because they're massive lads.
Massive lads.
But yeah, so Hannah, we will read your fan fiction out next week. I'm very much looking forward to that.
Yes. I have an email here from Joshua Baker, who says, on beginnings and endings and trains. Dear Messrs. Moore and Clark, first off, a hearty congratulations to Simon for completing your life's work. I wish to tell you, I wish you well in the future. As it happens, when one door closes, another opens. As of this spring, I'll be starting my own work and PhD in computational theory. Goodbye life. Wow, that's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be intense. Good luck. Just take it easy, okay? Pace yourself.
He also says, in other news, I managed to see the new Orient Express film, as per Dan's recommendation. Truly, it was a fantastic watch, and I loved every minute of it. That said, I was always a fan of the original David Suchet portrayal of the story, and find it hard to compare the two. I was curious to either of you if you've seen the previous iteration of the film and had any thoughts on the comparison. I haven't. I've heard very, very good things. I think the two films, however, from what I've heard about from Mark Kermode, is that they're different films. So I'm sure they're both equally good interpretations, but they definitely have a kind of a different mood about them. I don't know whether, Simon, have you seen the David Suchet version?
I think Mum and Dad are massive fans of Agatha Christie, and so I've probably seen him on TV in sort of snatched moments, but I've never sat down and watched it in full.
Well, there we go. I will make it my challenge to watch it over my holiday. Because I'll have plenty of time to watch things, and I shall get back to you, Joshua. I promise. So,
incidentally, just a completely unrelated note here, I had this thought the other day. Sorry, this is this podcast at its prime. I was thinking, you know how Gimli, as in from the Lord of the Rings, it's a Scottish dwarf. Oh,
sorry,
accent.
I thought you meant that other Gimli.
The dwarven accent is generally regarded to be Scottish, right?
I beg your pardon, say all that again, I wasn't listening.
The dwarven accent is generally regarded to be Scottish, right?
Yes.
It's like, we're very dangerous over short distances, that kind of thing. I was imagining, how funny would it be if all the dwarves were Welsh?
Yeah.
Like, there's this belief there are no dwarf women. They just spring out of holes in the ground.
With my bow, my sword, and my sheep.
We dwarves are natural sprinters. Very dangerous over short distances.
I'm the only gay dwarf in the village.
We've sent Frodo to his death.
I'm sorry for all Welsh listeners. We do have a bit of a habit of picking on you. It's because we love you. We love you the most.
Never thought I died side by side with an elf. At the moment, Welsh Gimli is my favourite thing.
Yeah. It's like our, can you remember the night where we were having this is when you used to live here, and we were having quite a few bevs, and we decided to recreate Harry Potter, but in a French universe.
Oh, Harry Potter and Remy Lupin.
Oh, amazing.
Hermione.
We were like falling about.
And Ron.
Oh, yeah, amazing. Love it.
Oh, sorry, I just had to put it. I've had Welsh Gimli in my head for a while. I just thought you'd like that. Oh, sorry, we're in Correspondence Corner. Anyway, back to the show.
Yeah.
So we have an email here from Ryan. I don't...
Yeah.
Actually, he just says, I don't, if you already talked about this. I think he means I don't know, if you already talked about this. But what do you think of the X-Men films, and in particular Logan, which is my favourite Marvel film? Have you seen Logan?
I have seen Logan.
What did you think?
I really liked it.
I loved it, I gotta say. All I could
very different film, but very, very good.
All I could think was I would love to see a 40k film, a Warhammer 40,000 film in that style. Like that style of gritty realism, because it didn't pull any punches. My God, like when the other Hugh Jackman gets impaled by the tractor, I was like, it's rare that I watch stuff now and I flinch at how grim something is. But yeah, I really, really like Logan. Partly, I suppose, because of the other X-Men films, because the other ones, I mean, let's not forget, the first X-Men really kick-started the superhero revolution. It was before Iron Man and everything like that. And the previous X-Men are all quite campy, really. You watch them now, there's something very childlike about them. X2 is a great film, but like the original X-Men, it's like still finding its feet. It's in a world that wasn't ready for a superhero movie, and I think Logan only really works in a way. I'm wondering if in the future historians are going to look at Logan as finishing off this section of cinematic history that or being emblematic of like the end of superhero movies in the same way that the first X-Men was the start. Because it can't go on for much longer. The Marvel universe is so bloated that, I mean, Infinity War, by this point, if you haven't seen a Marvel film, no one's going to go and see Infinity War. Like, it's so over the top and bloated and outrageous. And yes, I do like the films because they're all the same film. But they're good. Yeah. And they're safe. But I don't know. I feel like maybe Hugh Jackman's performance of Wolverine is like bookended, the beginning and the end. So yeah, no, I mean, I do like him. Have you seen the other X-Men films?
Yes, I think so. Not for a while, but I have. It's hard to compare Logan to the previous installations of that kind of series because it is just so colossally different.
I mean, there's the more recent ones as well. Of course, there's First Class and Days of Future Past, and I haven't seen Apocalypse.
Yes, I've seen all of those actually. Apocalypse, I loathed.
Yeah, I've heard that. I heard it wasn't any good.
Days of Future Past, I don't think I minded too much, but I think it's because Peter Dinklage was quite important.
Yeah, he's great.
I like him. But Apocalypse was absolutely dreadful.
First Class was great. I really liked First Class. Partly because it has Kevin Bacon and like how can you not like something?
Yeah,
with Kevin Bacon?
That's right. With the submarine which had a like nuclear powered. Was it?
Yeah, it was something to do with the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was like absorbing the energy from nuclear warheads or something like that. It was something
because it explains how Charles Xavier can't walk.
Yeah, he gets paralyzed. Yeah, at the end of the film. Sorry, spoilers.
Because it's that coin, isn't it?
No.
Magneto moves a coin, passes a coin through his spine.
No, Magneto deflects a bullet, if I remember rightly. He deflects a
but he couldn't. He had to choose to save one or the other, didn't he? That was the thing.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was him or Mystique,
both.
I think it was. And so yeah, I think he deflects a bullet and it goes through Charles's spine.
Yeah, I must admit. I mean, I didn't not enjoy watching the film purely because
Jennifer Lawrence.
So this is for Apocalypse 2 because I think James McAvoy is amazing.
Oh yeah, he's good.
If anyone hasn't seen now, what was the one where he played a schizophrenic?
Oh, Split. That is
amazing film.
Oh really? I hadn't seen that. It's a
highly recommend. Also, he's done
Night Shyamalan
Filth on Netflix, which is really dark, really gritty, really disgusting, and just kind of he plays a really loathsome character, but he does it tremendously well. Oh. But yeah, Split and Filth, you should definitely watch if you like McAvoy.
There we go. Top quality film discussion here. It's bleeding out of Film Critics Corner. We
do have 2 or 3 more emails to read. We'll be picking up those next time. It's not that we don't want to read them, and we have given them a skim through, and we're definitely going to pick them up. However, both Simon and I have kind of pressing engagements happening in the next hour or so. You have one in the next 20 minutes or so, and I need to be on camp. I need to leave the house in about 30 minutes, and I yet to have a shower because I've been cleaning. So we shall do them next time, absolutely promise. That's why the section has been a little shorter than usual.
Yeah, for the love of God, guys, please let him shower before I have to see him. I don't think I can stomach the idea. But we will get back to you, we promise.
So, Simon, what have we learned today?
We have learned, oh, good God, I closed the article. Good luck finding that one again, Simon. We talked about a film.
A film.
It was a film, a whole film. I'm filling time whilst I scroll through my internet history, which had James Maxwell, who shares his name with my favourite physicist of all time, James Clerk Maxwell. It was a 1961 film. Girl on Approval. That was it.
Yeah,
1961, directed by Charles Friend and starring Rachel Robertson, James Maxwell, and Anna Whiteley, which we didn't talk about. In fact, we've probably talked about it for longer now than we did in the whole rest of the podcast because we mostly talked about... I think that might be true.
It's because we had so many interesting things to talk about. We had Christmas, we had New York, we had Kermode, we had... film. We had another Critics Corner, as it has been newly christened.
Let's not forget, we had some exciting present unwrapping and live printing action.
Yeah.
Truly a classic of the podcast.
I personally find that live printing just has the edge over pre-recorded printing.
Can we start a Twitch channel where we're just commenting over live videos of people printing?
Let's do it. It's got legs.
Okay, that's good. That's a stretch goal.
And that's all for this week's episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice. You can like us on Facebook, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our YouTube channel, Spongy and Electric.
Printer recommendations, Star Wars gifts, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole, and we'll see you next time.
Before we go, we said that we talk about our favourite song of all time. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Have you thought about this?
Oh, of course I have. He lied. My favourite song of all time. Okay, I've currently been listening to on repeat, like just incessantly, 2 Jacob Collier pieces.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So it's his arrangement of "In the Bleak Midwinter." I will provide links to these, and his arrangement of "Jerusalem," the hymn by Parry. It's really, really cool. There's also a band called Wolfpack, which I've been listening to.
So remember, this
is
meant to be one song.
Yeah, I know. I'm making up for it by just saying everything that I've been listening to in the past 24 hours. My favourite song of all time, I'm going to go with...
Such a hard question.
Morning Mood from the Peer Gynt Suite.
Oh, so we're allowing classical.
Yeah. Oh, if you're not... Yeah, okay, so that would be my classical answer. My non-classical answer would be... Rock DJ by Robbie Williams.
By Robbie Williams!
Yeah.
Wow, a bold choice.
Absolutely love it. I love that song. Love that man.
If I'm going to go for a piece, like a classical piece, it changes all the time.
Change it. Is it that one?
Turn your face away. At the moment, it's the Gloria from the Mass in B minor by Bach.
Oh, you fucking nerd.
Because it's possibly not even possibly, it is the greatest piece of music ever written. And then in terms of modern songs, again, it depends on what mood I'm in, but I'm going to go with Bat Out of Hell by Meatloaf.
Yeah, good shout. Good shout.
That's an absolute banger. Yeah. Okay, bye.